A very good evening to you with a Monday, June 18th edition of the CBC Evening News. I'm Ryan Broom in our top story. Prime Minister Mia Motley has made a strong appeal for deeper ties between Caribbean nations. She made the call during her address to the 65th meeting of the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, or OECS Authority, to which she was invited as a special guest. To emphasize the point, the Prime Minister noted that the 2017 hurricane season was one that reminded Caribbean territories of their fragility.
There, but for the grace of God, goes any one of us. And the only way we can move forward, conscious that we've already started another hurricane season, is by recognizing that our fragility requires of us an effort and a commitment that goes beyond anything that we have seen thus far. It is impossible for any one of us to confront the realities of climate change without cooperation.
And Prime Minister Motley stressed that all Caribbean territories, including Barbados, are vulnerable.
Point all the time that Barbados, which revels in the fact that our educational system has delivered so many over the decades, can find itself confronting issues of access tomorrow if a hurricane hit us, rather than seeking to perfect the qualitative aspects of our educational system. All of us are vulnerable. It is against that background that, irrespective of our membership in CARICOM and Caribbean community, that we must find modalities to help each other in this Caribbean region, particularly as we confront the issues of climate change and our ability to adapt to boost our resilience as we go forward.
Minister of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, Kirk Humphrey, intends to make the Bridgetown port even more efficient and a leader in the Caribbean ports. Speaking after touring the area and its facility, he said he was impressed with what he saw and praised staff and management for their efforts so far.
Yes, sir, I've taken a decision that I want to get to know the operations of all the departments that I have responsibility for. I want to get to know the people who work in these various departments, and so for me it was very important that we took a tour of the port. This morning I am pleased about a number of things. The port is very, very efficiently run in many ways. There's a very good climate between the unions and the management of the port. That augurs well for anything that we seek to do in the future. The staff here, all that I've interacted with so far, seem very pleased to be part of the port. There seems to be a modernization that is now occurring that will make operations even more efficient going forward.
And the minister will also be reviewing several of the multi-million-dollar contracts that were granted for work in port, including those for berths 5 and 6.
We have a responsibility to review them. We have a responsibility, if it is indeed possible at the end of the day, to approach the contract in a way that allows us to make the maximum benefit of it, of course. If it is a contract that has been done in terms that are fair, then it is a contract that is fair. We are just reviewing the contracts. We've made no decisions, we've had no determination, we haven't been so presumptuous as to conclude an outcome before we've started. We're just reviewing the contracts. But when we do review the contracts, we will make the information known to Barbadians. And if there are any things in the contract that we think are not in favor of the interests of the country, then we will say so and try our best to get out of those terms.
Now, following the port tour, it was over to the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex, where fisherfolk aired and vented many of their concerns to Minister Humphrey. Many, including Barnufo President Vernell Nichols, complained of inadequate space and unsanitary conditions and a lack of clear definition of the roles and responsibilities of the fisherfolk and government.
The ice machine shut down, a whole number of issues that we definitely have to meet with the minister, and we have to discuss them and make sure that everybody is on board with what exactly their roles and responsibilities are. What are the responsibilities of the vendors? What are the responsibilities of the general workers? And those things need to be sorted out. And we need to have a system where management pay close attention to the workers who are employed here, because you get at times that it seems to be a cross between who's supposed to do what, and sometimes the general workers, they sometimes don't like to do the work that they have to do, and we really have to start working out who's supposed to do what.
Now, Minister Humphrey says he will be calling a meeting next week to address the issues and allow all stakeholders to lay their issues on the table.
We will speak to the issues one by one and promise to have some redress for the people in an urgent manner. I naturally am concerned that some of these matters have been going on for as long as they've been going on. I think one of the areas where the fisher folk are most discontented is that they feel they haven't been listened to and that they haven't been heard. And I think a lot of the anger that we saw vented this morning was because they felt they weren't heard, and that the actual issues could be resolved with a little bit of conversation. And we intend to be a participatory government. We intend certainly to have a participatory ministry, and that is why by next week we're going to have a meeting to resolve a number of these issues.
Now, in other news, the two remaining senators appointed by government, Kay McConney and Rawdon Adams, took the oath of office this morning before Governor General Dame Sandra Mason during a brief ceremony at Government House. Senator McConney, who has also been appointed Minister of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, is a former diplomat who served as Barbados' Consul General in Toronto. Senator Rawdon Adams, the son of late Prime Minister Tom Adams, is a finance professional of over 20 years' experience. The proceedings were witnessed by Cabinet Secretary Cecile Humphrey, other officials, and relatives of the two new senators. Well, newly re-elected Member of Parliament for St. George South, Dwight Sutherland, joined family, supporters and well-wishers to give thanks following his victory in the May 24th general election. The Ellerton Wesleyan Holiness Church was the venue where Mr. Sutherland's contribution to the constituency was recognized. Prayers were also offered for Mr. Sutherland and his family. Janelle Odell paid tribute to the St. George South MP, urging him to stay strong and courageous.
I know for sure that you can do this. I believe as you are a man of God. And I'm not saying by any means that he is perfect, but we as a people need to continue and pray for him. Stand behind him. The first thing that we do is like to criticize people whenever they slip up, as you know, we are all humans. But we need to continue to encourage him.
Mr. Sutherland, who is Minister of Small Business, Entrepreneurship and Commerce, sees his ministry as important in assisting Barbados at this critical time.
That is indeed a very critical ministry if we are to regain any level of respectability and punch above our weight again. So don't think because I'm an engineer and you don't hear me as transport and works, you ain't gonna get no roads fixed. You will get roads fixed, so don't worry about that. We will fix roads because it's a team approach to this level of rebuilding Barbados that we have. So not because I'm not the Minister of Transport and Works that we are not going to get roads. We will get roads. And I am sure, I'm certain that before the years ended.
We take a pause here, but coming up, a St. Lucie family still trying to put the pieces back together following a devastating fire. Welcome back. Well, the offices of the Supreme Court have once again been closed. However, this time it's nothing to do with environmental challenges. The closure is to allow members of the judiciary, prosecutors, and attorneys to attend a 2-day training seminar on the law of evidence. The seminar is designed to provide guidance on recent developments in Australian law on which the Evidence Act of Barbados is based. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of the seminar, Chief Justice Sir Marston Gibson said he's pleased participants will be exposed to developments in the Australian courts, which in many cases have statutes similar to those in Barbados. This, he said, will reduce the need to refer to cases in the English courts. Sir Marston believes the most impactful change to the Act is legislation pertaining to the video recording of confessions.
It has enormous implications because what it means, a lot of cases that persons whose confessions are being video recorded are more likely to plead guilty and save us having to go to trial.
A St. Lucie family is struggling tonight to put the pieces of their lives back together after a fire destroyed their home last month. Christine Murphy says while they have been coping since the fire, things have been hard and about to get even harder if they don't get some help. Lisa Broom has more.
This is what remains of the house at Well Road, St. Lucie, which Christine Murphy occupied with her double amputee mother Carmen, her children, fiancé, and other family members. They lost almost all of their possessions in the fire nearly a month ago. And while they were given a temporary home here at Northumberland, time is running out for them to find something permanent.
The landlord is calling for her money for her bills. We're trying to find other places to go. We are not finding places. My 2 daughters is not going to school. Things is very hard.
While Christine is very grateful for the help, she says the family is not comfortable.
At the moment, I had to sleep on the floor. Sleep right, donated me a bed. It came yesterday. Then a lady from Canada, she gave us these 2 chairs and a little single bed, which my 2 daughters sleep on right now after my bed came. But it's hard. I was running for food stuff, had not for people, bring things and giving. It'd be very hard.
Christine cannot work because she has to look after her mother. Her fiancé Joshua is the only one working, but he's on sick leave. He had to be treated for smoke inhalation when he tried to save some of their possessions from the fire. Christine says the spot where the ruins of their home now stand belongs to the family and they have permission to rebuild there.
All we needed is just help in rebuilding the house. We won't have no problem rebuilding back on the land. We just need help rebuilding back our home. My uncle, which is Levi Murphy, he and a couple of friends are up with us. They have picked up a fund, but they take it to Ignatius Bible School, where the principal is supposed to get some stuff for the children to help them return back to school. So he was telling me that there's a gentleman that would donate cement to my mom to help rebuild back the house.
As you might remember, Christine and Joshua were to get married on the day of the fire. Even after saving their wedding clothes and later finding the rings in the rubble, the two still had to postpone the wedding. But according to Christine, that's the last thing on their minds. All the family wants is to be back together in their home.
Thanks, Lisa. We certainly pray that they get that help coming soon. Well, still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region. Welcome back. Well, in news from the region tonight, officials in Guyana say the drilling of a well in East Bank Demerara over the last couple of days was responsible for a natural gas explosion late Thursday. The explosion saw large quantities of mud and water spurting several meters into the air. The well was being dug in the backyard of a family who did not have the permission to do so.
A Diamond New Scheme businessman is being grilled by the relevant authorities after he dug an illegal water well on his premises and caused what experts are referring to as a natural gas eruption. Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Kemraj Parsram, said that preliminary tests show a low level of natural gas.
The existing preliminary assessment determined that natural gas is very, very, very low. So it's nothing to cause for alarm at this point in time. When the full assessment is done and completed, we'll be able to determine what action is necessary.
Were you able to determine whether the drilling of that domestic well by the homeowner is illegal?
Well, at this point in time, we are not certain whether he had applied for permission, but yes, usually anybody who's drilling domestic wells will have to seek permission from GWI as well as the EPA.
Nearby buildings were damaged by the mud that erupted more than 40 feet into the air. Head of the Civil Defense Commission, Colonel Kester Craig, said the CDC wasted no time in calling in the experts to keep the situation under control.
We've been monitoring the situation, but we decided to take some precautionary measures to verify if it's actually just mud and water or a combination of mud, water, and some form of natural gas. This morning, MASID did some preliminary tests and they found a percentage of methane in the air. And then we spoke to Exxon and they provided some test equipment. They also have GWI and they're currently doing some testing and they've also picked up some amount of methane in the atmosphere and hydrogen sulfide, and some amount of hydrogen sulfide.
The CDC is asking residents in 6th Street Diamond not to light any fires in the area until they are advised further.
So the amount that has been detected is not significant, but we're going to continue to monitor it, and in the event that we need to, as a matter of fact, some precaution measures that have been taken is we want to take out all the electricity and ensure there's no ignitable sources within the area.
Teams from ExxonMobil, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Hydromet Office, and the Guyana-Watt Incorporated were underground assessing the situation.
I think a number of years ago in 2009, with a similar incident, based on information from GWI, they're saying that this area here is it's a high pressure area, I think. High pressure aquifer. High pressure aquifer, and if you drill wells in this area and you go up a certain depth, it's likely to have impact like this.
Venezuela has disclosed that it will not be participating in the international court case to bring an end to the decades-old border controversy with Guyana. The government, in a statement today, indicated that this has been communicated to the International Court of Justice. Earlier this year, the matter was transferred to the ICJ by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. However, Venezuela had objected to that move. It says the court manifestly lacks jurisdiction over an action unilaterally proposed by the neighboring country, which does not have the consent of Venezuela. Well, sports news is just ahead, but first, a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Asthmatics should control their home environment by minimizing the use of rugs, washing bedding frequently, and covering mattresses and pillows. This tip is brought to you by the Asthma Association of Barbados.